Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are, whoever you are. Welcome once again to Full Fat Spoiler Chat, the show in which we, the folks at Nerd Caliber, go in deep on a recent piece of nerd entertainment, and we talk all sorts of information about did it work, was it good, was it bad, were there messages, what was the tone, things like that. And this week it is Godzilla versus Kong. So anybody who's already showed up in the chat, if you have not seen Godzilla versus Kong, the very, very recent movie, and you don't want the spoilers, I suggest you find something else to watch. Otherwise, feel free to hang in, give us questions, give us feedback, tell us what you thought when we go through all of our impressions. I'm Rodney Brown. I'm the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on Facebook, and Burley_adopter on Twitter. And we're going to save the best for last. So joining us tonight is Manny, if you would. Which is not that
Hey,
you're not the best, Manny. Of course you are. But
what? uh, my name is Manny. I'm the founder of Nerd Caliber and co-owner with Rodney. I guess I'm below you. Um, yeah, I'm happy to chat about this interesting topic today.
what a diplomatic way to put it. And Byron with the wonderful classic background, if you would.
Well, Byron Zero, Byron McNeil. How you guys doing? Contributing writer for Nerd Caliber, social media as well as YouTube content creation. Um, I'm ready to talk about this movie, even though the one behind me is far superior.
Awesome, very cool. And joining us for the first time is an actually pretty long time contributor to Nerd Caliber, on camera personality, Chocobo Butt. If you would introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Chocobo Butt. Chocobo Butt on everything. I do the interviews and just cosplay stuff for Nerd Caliber. So when conventions happen again, hopefully you'll see more videos and we'll be interviewing all of you awesome people at the conventions. So one day, hopefully soon.
Awesome.
And I'm excited to talk about a series that I really, really, really love and about this addition to it.
Again, very diplomatic. All right, folks. Pie Master, welcome to the show. Claudia, welcome to the show. Zolt, welcome to the show. Harry Brady, welcome back. And let's see if we got anybody else. So Hamza, welcome to the show. And your wall of emojis is being hidden, and I'm actually going to keep it hidden because it eats up almost my entire chat window.
Oh,
So, but if you have anything else to say, Hamza, please do make a point to comment on what we're talking about. And same warning we give out: if you haven't seen Godzilla vs Kong and you don't want spoilers, I would suggest you find something else to watch. Otherwise, hang in there and let's go down this ride together. All right. So, as we always do on the show, the first thing is we talk a little bit about the background. This could go on for the entire show because obviously there's a lot of background here. So the real Cliff Notes version is Godzilla as a character. Well, let's just go even further. King Kong was a character created in 1932, I think, in the 1930s, and has appeared in a number of different movies over the course of the decades since then. The most recent and the one that clearly is the prequel to this is Kong Skull Island, because the monsters are the same. Well, it's the same Skull Island. Starting in the 1950s, I think 1954. Am I correct? 1954 in Japan, the Godzilla franchise got started, and that has way more movies than anything in the Kong franchise. And there has been already once an appearance of a meeting up between King Kong and Godzilla, as you can see in Byron's background there. This movie is the third in the new reboot of Godzilla as made by American Studios, Warner Brothers, and Legendary, which is a subsidiary of Warner Brothers, starting in 2014 with Godzilla, with Bryan Cranston and Aaron Taylor Johnson, and
Olsen.
Thank you, Elizabeth Olsen. So basically, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, but in a different movie.
They're married.
So we're doing the ultimate comic storyline.
Exactly. Yeah, Ultimates. And then continued on with Godzilla King of Monsters, and now Godzilla versus Kong. And that basically brings us up to speed to where this movie came from. That ignores so much content, but again, there's just so much we just can't get into it.
Yeah, there's not enough time.
Not even remotely enough time. So, with that said, we're going to jump right into the what we liked and what we didn't. What worked for you? What didn't work for you? We're going to start again. I think we're going to keep this flow going. So we're going to start with Manny. Manny, what did you like? What didn't you like? What worked? What didn't? Lay it all out there.
Well, I would say that the design for Kong was pretty good. Probably the best thing about it, graphics wise, was the design of Kong. I feel bad because I think if I would have seen this in the theater, I think I would have enjoyed it more, because you see all you hear all the sound and the action, and hear everyone's reaction to it. This is definitely a theater movie.
Yeah.
This is not a sit down for the first time, watch it by yourself or whatever movie, because it's something you need to, like, people that enjoy the Godzilla franchise, or I mean, I don't know if people follow King Kong that much, but anyone that likes kaiju monsters, something you could watch together and just have fun, maybe. But maybe besides that, everything was pretty bad. I didn't care for the. Okay, I'm really sorry. I'm really tired of these monster movies that 80% of it is humans doing dumb human things. I had to suffer through that through the 5 Transform movies, as bad as they were already. I had to suffer with that with the recent Godzilla movies, at least the American versions. At least Kong Skull Island, there was a lot of fighting, and there was some sort of, I think probably of all the monster movies, kaiju monster movies coming out from that universe, probably Kong Skull Island is probably my favorite of all of them, because I don't know, say it made the most sense. At least I enjoyed it more. Pacific Rim is still the best right now, in my opinion. Even part 2, I think it's way over these movies. But no, it's just, I mean, I just didn't care for the story. Made no sense. What, Godzilla's attacking a corporation that's making a giant, because they're making a giant robot. If you would have told me that, hey, Godzilla versus Kong versus Mecha Godzilla would be terrible 10 years ago, I would like, no way, that would be awesome. No, Hollywood has a good way of proving me wrong again.
Yep.
But yeah, the story is just horrible. It just made no sense. And I'll stop there and let someone else.
It's a lot of nodding and nobody going, but Byron, jump in with your absolute thrilling likes and I'm sure just a few dislikes.
Right. I mean, it was a lot going on visually, and I definitely enjoyed that. The fights were fun. Like, anything where it was just the monkey and the lizard going at it, I was there for it. On the freighter, when like King Kong was tied down, like, you gotta let him go. I'm just like, yes, let him go so we can get some WWE action going on here. Just so much visually was impressive. I mean, with the exception of Mecha Godzilla, but
Yeah, that was a bad design.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, it reminded me of Truckosaurus.
I mean,
Yes.
it's still an improvement from the original Mechagodzilla, but you gotta keep in mind that's like 60s, 70s, so that's not saying a lot.
Yeah,
So...
late 60s, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember what your Mechagodzilla first is, but that it's
Actually, hold on just a second. Luminous, welcome to the show. Foxy Gamer, welcome to the show. Godzilla Boy 2004, welcome to the show.
Love the name.
Luminous could tell us exactly when Mechagodzilla first appeared. So if you get a chance, throw that in there. Luminous, we'd love to hear it. Anyway, Byron, keep going.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, those, like, those are my main positives. Overall, it just wasn't an interesting film. It was kind of just I I to touch on Manny's point about the sound. Like I had my sound bar like cranked up, so I felt that boom. That was cool, but it wasn't I don't think I would have enjoyed it in the theater either. Like having all that bass bombarding my ears, I kind of just would have been like, okay, because if I'm watching this kind of movie, I'm gonna be invested. I just couldn't be bothered to give it my undivided attention. That's how unimpressed by it I was.
Yep.
Um, and I mean, casting choices were like, okay, you know, Millie Bobby Brown, she's doing her thing, good for her. And the conspiracy theories, I keep forgetting his name. He's in so much stuff.
Brian Tyree Henry.
Yes.
And I only looked
He's
that
a
up because I know
phenomenal
he's the guy that's going to be in the Eternals.
Yes.
Oh,
He's
that's
also
right.
in Atlanta. And
Yeah, and he was in
Miles Morales' dad in Spider-Verse.
Yes, he did the
Yes,
voice.
Yes.
Jefferson Davis.
He does so much stuff, and
This was not one of
No.
the good ones. It's
Like,
a shame.
I was glad that he wasn't playing a bad guy.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I will give this film that much credit, but I feel like you would have seen a better performance from him if he'd been given a more competent script. And this script,
More competent?
yeah, is someone changing a diaper in here? It was but while I didn't hate it, I wasn't impressed. I was just bored.
Yep. Before we go on, Luminous says Mechagodzilla began in 1974. Thank you, Luminous. And Byron, your mic dropped and then came back up in volume. I don't know if you're bumping into a connection or something. Just keep an ear on that. It didn't make you so that we couldn't hear you. It just, changed.
Yeah, this dropped you a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Chocobo Butt. Lay it on us. What
Let him
worked?
have it.
What worked?
All right,
What
if
didn't?
I have to give it something good, it had decent visuals. The visuals were good. It definitely has my favorite look of Kong and one of my least favorites of Godzilla. They made him much fatter than King of Monsters, and they gave him evil eyes. And I know why. It's storytelling reasons. They want you to associate and relate to Kong more. So
Right.
they made him have like that almost like puppy dog kind of look to him. Like he's always kind of like sad looking. Which is what, to me at least, Godzilla had more in King of Monsters. But because Godzilla is now like kind of, he's not evil, but like he's seen as the evil kaiju in this movie.
He's certainly the antagonist.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They like changed his look slightly to make him look more fitting in that role, and I did not like that.
Don't fat shame Godzilla.
They just made him so much chunkier, and I was like, chunky could be cute, but I don't like this look for Godzilla.
Yeah.
Like, why
My
did
take
you
on it was that
adjust
they.
it?
I get the story point,
Yeah.
reasons. My take on it was they were trying to make him look even more like a guy in a suit, which is more like the original. And I
Yeah.
thought, why would you do that if you've got CG?
I will come back to that because I have an example of a good version of that as
So
opposed
do I
to
actually.
yeah. So if we can come back to that idea, I want to come back to that
Sure.
idea.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, the music made no sense. It was like they picked a random guy's playlist and they just had random fucking. Sorry for cooking.
I don't even remember.
Yeah,
They had
you
random
get one or two.
they had random like country music playing at points, and I was like, I don't understand what's going on. Like the actual like orchestrated music was fine because it's it's the Godzilla theme. You can't really mess with that too much, but the like songs in it made no sense ever. It I don't know what they were doing with that. We have like the Sonos sound bar here, so we did watch it at home, and we did have like sound going on. I saw King of Monsters in the theater. I don't think I would have liked it in the theater either. This movie, didn't really care for the sound too much either. I got actually so bored I started looking at my phone halfway through the movie. And this is coming from someone who is excited for it. I didn't have one moment where I was like, oh man, like, yeah, like, let's go. Like, I was not hyped at any second of this movie. I felt more confused than hyped because nothing in the plot made any lick of sense. And I was ready to, like, like, have some disbelief because it's like it's a movie. The science never makes sense or anything. Plots don't always make perfect sense. But like it reached that threshold of like, this is just too ridiculous that I just can't accept this, and it's just bad. So I mean, I guess the visuals, they had a lot of like
Yes.
cool ideas, but they didn't use them.
Yeah, or didn't use them wisely or smartly.
No, yeah, like Hollow Earth was really cool, but we didn't get to use it properly. So I guess that's, yeah, I didn't like it.
All right, so basically the same thing most everybody has said. There is no story that makes any sense whatsoever. Okay, start with likes. And again, the same thing. Visually, this particularly Weta Digital's CG work is stunning. Whether you like the design of Godzilla or not, the CG of Godzilla was amazing. Kong was even better. But in their fights, which obviously is all CG because, they're not two people stomping through a cardboard Tokyo, and they're not actually destroying Hong Kong, so clearly it's all of that is CG. Even the environments in their fights was just beautiful. Outstanding job. Weta Digital deserves, all the credit for making the only enjoyable part of this movie.
Mhm.
Well, that's not true. Whoever wrote the fights, the choreography of what happens in the fights, for the most part, until humans are involved, is really impressive. The fights are good, and they actually work reasonably well. Assuming you can get over the fact that Giant Monkey suddenly knows what an axe is and how to use it.
He's the king.
He's the king. There we go. Yeah, well, I mean, he can learn sign language, so
Or
clearly.
that Godzilla went blind for a second and just decided to turn away in the sea, even if he was winning that battle. I mean, ignore that.
Yeah. Or the fact that how do we get Godzilla to not kill Kong? Drop death charges because it's going to stun Godzilla. It's not going to stun Kong. He's right there. You're literally blowing stuff up around him, and it's anyway.
Logic.
Yeah, logic. No, not in this movie. Not even close. So yes, the only thing I liked about this is the only two things are the actual fights and the CG, mostly around those fights. The look of Hollow Earth was really cool, but even then, that's an environment where kind of combat takes place. Well, actually, a lot of combat, just not with Godzilla initially. So the things that I don't like, there is no story that makes any hint of sense whatsoever in this thing. The level of stupidity is galling.
Mm-hmm.
When I have to have IMDb up here so that I know the names of the characters, Madison, Josh, and Bernie, because even after I watched this, in my head, I couldn't think of their names. The only name I could think of was Alexander Skarsgård's character, Nathan, because Rebecca Hall's character just keeps calling, Nathan, 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 yelling at him.
It was like half of her lines.
Literally half of her lines. And the other half are about, her adopted daughter. And anyway. So it's 11, Fire Fist, and Black QAnon. And that's what it was in my head for the rest. So 11, Fire Fist, and Black QAnon decide that they can figure out who is actually behind. Actually, 11 and Fire Fist, before they meet up with Black QAnon, who is behind this podcast, in which the first thing that we hear him say is the name of the company he works for and the fact that he's going to steal research from them tonight.
This company has the worst security I've ever seen in anything.
Yeah.
Like, nobody listening to his podcast goes, oh, wow, maybe I'd better call just in case.
I guess they didn't do background checks on these people before hiring them.
Apparently not. But anyway, so they go to try to find out, where this guy is. And, the way they're going to do it is apparently it's known that he showers in bleach. So they're going to find out who's selling him that much bleach.
Wait, everyone, wait, hold on, everyone. Everyone, tap or no tap?
Exactly.
I have one specific question about the whole bleach.
Well, just let me. I'll let you get to that, but let me get my point here. Is they apparently there is one store in the entire freaking city of Pensacola that sells bleach, because they don't show anything about how they find out where to find out who's buying all this bleach. They go to one convenience grocery, I don't even know what kind of store it was, and ask some guy a question. That's it. That's the entire amount of research they do to find this guy. Anyway, I think your comment is about to be something like mine is, Byron,
bleach.
but go ahead.
Yes. How is his hair still black?
How is he alive? If
How
you've
does
got
his skin not like start to like just come off his body
burn,
at that point?
Clorox would be a burning agent at that point.
Yeah.
It would, the chemical
Yes.
reaction would burn his skin. So, and Chocobo, about you were talking about the bizarre use of country music. So we've got bizarre use of country music.
There was like weird music throughout the whole film. I was like, why
People-
are they playing this?
People who literally are characters we're supposed to sympathize with, who are conspiracy theorists of the wildest sort of conspiracies that date back to the 50s, like fluoride in the water and garbage bullshit like that. And the use of bleach. This movie was made for QAnon people and Trump fans. I'm 100% convinced that that's why this movie exists.
That would explain why all the POC characters are just like some of the weaker characters in the film too.
Yeah.
Which I did not appreciate at all. I was very upset about that.
I do want to bring up one character that no one's talked about yet. She's the girl from Bloodshot. I can't remember her real name, but it's just like, oh my god, could you just give her a mustache to twirl?
Oh, Maya
the
Simmons,
daughter?
the daughter of the
daughter.
It's just like I remember when she came on screen. I'm just like, I'm sorry. Did someone feed you bitch pills for breakfast?
Speaking of bitch pills, I haven't seen King of Monsters, so I don't know what what Millie Bobby Brown's character was like there, but I've read that it's completely different. In this movie, she is a self-centered, raging asshole. I mean, that girl...
All right, so like King of Monsters has its faults as well. I won't say it's like the best Godzilla movie ever, but at least the humans in there, like they drive the plot of the story. They're the reason like Ghidorah wakes up. They're the reason Godzilla's alive and fights at the end. Like they drive the plot. So like they have a purpose. There's, like I would have liked more monster fight in that too, but they at least have a purpose in that one. Her character is very sympathetic because like she believes in her mom, who ends up being like the villain of that one, because the true moral of any Godzilla story is monsters are the real villains. That's what every Godzilla film is supposed to tell you.
People
monsters
are the real
villains. People are the real monsters. Yeah. And like you see that in King of Monsters, and her mom ends up being the villain, and then she's like so distraught over it and tries to save everyone because she wants to make up for what her mom did. And like she's sympathetic in that sense. In this movie, like I hated her. I hated her character in this movie. I was like, what happened? There's no consistency between the two movies whatsoever.
Yeah, absolutely.
There really isn't.
Just a terrible character. The acting. Now, I understand they were given garbage to work with as actors, but the acting was awful from people I generally like. I really like Alexander Skarsgård. He killed it as Randall Flagg in the recent The Stand. He was not the worst of all of these, but pretty bad. I love Rebecca Hall. The Town, she's been in such absolutely outstanding movies, and her character, the Kong researcher in this is
so flat.
Well, and the delivery, the lines are idiotic, but some of her delivery of those lines are just like, why, as a professional actor, would you do that? I was just like, awful. Brian Tyree Henry, even though I hated the character, was far and away the best actor in this entire thing.
Yeah, he was the only...
Oh, you
It was
locked
like
up.
the only good part, and like sadly, it's not even that much of a good part. Oh,
Yep.
am I back?
Low bar.
You're back, but
Okay.
yeah, your video and audio went out of sync for a second there.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, it's connection. Nothing. No, nothing on you.
So,
So the
so
act. Oh, go ahead. Sorry. Go
I,
ahead.
I just want to say the most unbelievable thing about this movie is that okay, then the Hollow Earth, Kong, whatever, activates this power source or whatever. Godzilla senses it all the way up on top, and how does he react? He shoots his fire breath down to the core of the Earth. Okay, but then afterwards, that same hole that they blasted into, Kong like climbs up from it. It's
In
it's
minutes.
yeah,
What?
In
minutes.
minutes. It
But
took that descent scene when they first go to Hollow Earth takes like I think it's at least maybe 10 minutes or like 5 minutes visually, and like it's in seconds.
And plus, the only reason they're able to do it that fast is there's whatever that sort of wormhole type tunnel
Yeah.
thing is that accelerates them at insane speeds down into the center of the earth. And there isn't anything like that. It's just a tunnel, which, even though it's supposedly a hollow earth, one would assume that the people making this movie would assume that there's still magma around it,
Right?
and you can't make a solid tunnel through magma, even if you are blasting it with your atomic breath. But it's just a anyway.
That was Dragon Ball Z nonsense. That
Oh,
scene.
it was so stupid.
Yes,
And
I
here's
hate
here's
that
one
scene.
of the things where and this is my science fiction logic thing. So if they've got to defeat Godzilla, Apex wants to defeat Godzilla. Why make Mecha Godzilla? You've solved anti gravity. You have, and they make a big point about that. About these HEAV vehicles, these heat vehicles are powered, moved by anti gravity. You solved anti gravity. You attach the motors of these things to Godzilla, and just and he's gone into outer space. Like
I
done.
I'll bring up King of Monsters again because again this is a consistency issue between the two movies because there is none. In King of Monsters they use the hydrogen bomb technique that Monarch develops, which is an ode to the original
Yeah.
version, which almost kills him. Like it was literally going to kill Godzilla.
Yeah.
And they already had that in the previous movie, which I don't even know what the time difference is between those. It could be a year. It's like from the time that movie ends to when this one starts. I think it's a few years or something. I don't
Right.
even know. They never even bother to tell you. Um, but they had a weapon that could already destroy Godzilla. So there's literally no reason to make Mecha Godzilla.
Yeah.
The entire movie. There's no reason for him.
Yep.
And when you see him, you feel that because there was no buildup. There was just you're just like, okay, cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Like
And one of the other things, so clearly, this director Adam Wingard,
yeah, he's a different director from the previous one.
right? Has no clue whatsoever how to direct actors. That's just so obvious from. But so there's a scene when they're breaking into the ruins of Apex, where the trio on the Godzilla side. So Madison, Josh, and Bernie are breaking in, and they get to one particular door that it's still locked somehow, even though it's kind of broken. And Bernie uses a screwdriver to just sort of short out the control panel, and the door opens. The setup for that is he takes the screwdriver out and he starts licking it, which I guess is to get it wet so that it causes the short. But and there are lights that are flashing, so it flashes purple then dark, purple then dark. The camera view changes every time the light changes, and it goes on for like 5 or 6 flashes, so probably 3 or 4 seconds of this guy just licking a screwdriver as the light and the camera angle change. And I'm looking at that scene going, why would you even do that? What's the point of putting that? I mean, have the whoop, done, stab. Why have that weird transition of shot point to shot point and light to light go on for seconds? It's absolutely mind-boggling decision that makes no sense whatsoever.
One of many. I will. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I would like to compare that to the scene where Josh takes Bernie's flask and just dumps it onto the computer board towards the end of the movie.
Yeah.
It's just because I'm just like, a competent writer would have seen that a callback would have made this more entertaining instead of saying.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Byron,
like instead of just like, oh right, he has a flask.
Well, you mean, are you saying that they didn't reference the flask? Because they did.
No, they did, but it was like this was like at the very beginning of the movie where you could have easily you could have not been blamed for forgetting about it.
Right. Well, but that, I mean, that is what a callback is, where something happens and you go, oh yeah, that was from then.
Yeah,
in that case, as a callback, it worked. It was stupid.
Yeah, it was
a competent writer.
A callback to the screwdriver would have been a little more entertaining.
Yeah, a competent writer wouldn't have a kid trying to try to guess a password to $1 billion satellite for 5 minutes?
So stupid.
I mean, they also wouldn't put computers into a giant skull and think it can use, what was it, telekinesis?
Telepathy.
They I mean, without a brain, so.
Right.
But I think we're asking for too much. But no, you said the director's Adam Wingard, right, for this movie?
Yeah.
He's the same. Just to bear in mind, this is the same guy who made the Netflix Death Note movie.
Yeah.
Which to me was like, I watched that and I like.
That pretty much sums up the reaction.
I don't even have words for that. So when I found out this was the same director, I was like, oh, no wonder. He clearly has no idea what actual Japanese media should be like.
No.
Yep.
At all.
On the chat, Aaron Medina, welcome to the show. So this one's right up your alley, Chocobo Butt. Luminous asks, did people like the underground tunnel from Florida to Hong Kong?
Oh God, no. So we were talking about that before. It goes, I don't remember the actual speed. It was 600 miles per hour. It was something really you will liquefy at that amount of speed. Your body cannot sustain
you won't liquefy.
You'll be, when you stop, you're dead.
Yes, it accelerated too fast and stopped too fast with nobody in any kind of harness. Rockets go up faster than that, but everybody's
laying down.
Yeah.
On their phones, it's no big deal. They're going insane amount of speed. I was like, I hate this so much.
Oh, it's just it's awful.
I didn't even remember that scene until you brought it up in the pre-show chat.
I was shocked when it came up. It's like, why does Apex have a hyperloop tunnel from Pensacola, Florida to Hong Kong? I mean, just think about what they've got to go through to get that. Anyway.
There's no direct route there.
Right.
Also, the name Apex.
Yeah. It's getting a little bit on the nose, just a little bit. And again, we're talking about really stupid things, and this came up in the earlier discussion. So, before Kong destroys, the heave vehicle that has Simmons' daughter, in it, they do actually manage to send up what they call the energy signature, information about the energy source.
Yeah, it wasn't even a sample. It was they were reading it to figure out what it was made of.
Exactly, and how it worked, and so on. They, the people at Apex get it. And within, I'm going to say minutes.
It's literally the next frame.
It's the next frame, but let's give them minutes. Yeah. We don't know. Within minutes, they have figured it out, replicated it in some fashion so that they can use it to power Mechagodzilla.
Don't you know anything about science?
They literally have the line, this is an unknown new material we don't have. So it's how did you replicate it? That basically how.
We know how fusion works. The hydrogen bomb in the last movie is a fusion bomb. The sun is fusion. We know how fusion works. We've been working on trying to replicate a fusion reaction in laboratories and commercially to the point where it puts out more energy than what they have to put in to get it to work for more than 50 years in real life. So we've known how fusion reactions work for 100 years, and we've been trying to make it work for 50 years. These guys did it in 5 minutes or less. And not fusion, but the same idea. They just discovered how an energy source works, and boom, there it is. 5 minutes.
Right. And not even that they just made it; they have enough to power a mech, a giant mech that's he's taller than Godzilla. The amount of power you would need to sustain that thing, like, is insane. So like that, it's too much. It's like way beyond like how much I will take for movie science. Like.
Yep. Agreed 100%. Luminous, I like all the neon colors. They were best in the Hong Kong battle, but they occur throughout the movie. This is true.
Yes.
And again, part of the visuals and the CG, it was really good. Speaking of Hong Kong, one of the things that really bothered me, one, Lance Reddick is in this for 30 seconds. And I'm like, hey, Lance Reddick is credited. I can't wait to see Lance Reddick. And then, as an American, he somehow is able to order the evacuation of Hong Kong, which I don't get. And then you show people, evacuating, except it doesn't happen because at the end, everybody is standing outside, watching Godzilla and Kong as Godzilla walks away, and Kong does, I don't know how to quit you.
It's literally the plot of Batman vs Superman. Let's be real.
Somebody should have said Martha. Literally, somebody should have said.
No, what they say is Mothra.
Mothra. Exactly. Mothra. And it's like, okay, so Godzilla and Kong, the heroes, of this movie, easily killed hundreds of thousands of people. Aside from just the buildings coming down, you notice that a lot of times when they fall, they don't fall into the skyscrapers, they fall into housing projects.
Crowds, yes.
Just like entire housing flats gone. But anyway,
maybe they were all on vacation.
That's exactly. They were all on vacation except for the ones who were fleeing in the one scene where they showed them being evacuated, except for the ones that obviously didn't get evacuated because there were still thousands upon thousands of them out in the streets watching Godzilla walk away.
Haven't you ever played Arkham Knight?
See, one thing I liked on King of Monsters is like, because the whole point is like Ghidorah is summoning all of the monsters that live like in Hollow Earth and just underground. He's summoning them because he's like, I'm the apex, so you all have to listen to me. So they show, like, there's actually scenes of them showing like the news all over the world and all like the horrible things happening with these monsters reemerging, and they kind of show like what that's doing to humanity. And I like that. You don't see that in this one. You're just like, oh, they broke buildings, but like there's no like, you don't feel anything after it. There's no like after effect of anything.
Yep.
Nothing matters.
Yep.
Nothing matters.
There's no implication that Apex is going to be, the Simmons is going to be arrested. Oh no, he got killed. But anybody in Apex. All right, so that's we could literally dump on this movie for another 2 or 3 hours. It's every single frame in this movie that isn't about Monkey v. Lizard is stupid. Just shockingly dumb, poorly acted, amateurishly directed. It's garbage. Matrix Gamer, hi, I am Godzilla Grr. You are one of the few good things about this movie.
And like the thing a lot of people I've seen have been saying is like, yeah, but you don't go to see the people in this movie. I'm like, okay, I agree with you. But at the same point, if you only have 40 minutes of fighting of like, what was it, 2 hours, the movie?
Just short, yeah.
That means the rest of that movie is people that have no purpose being in that movie, and that makes it a bad movie, because that's only 40 minutes that was good. The rest of it was garbage. So that makes it a not good movie.
Yep. This is a movie.
That ratio's off.
And if it's a movie, it has to be held to movie standards. And if it's a movie that has human actors in it acting out the elements of a story, it has to be held to those proper standards. Matrix Gamer Davis, bye. Thanks for stopping by.
This is why 95% of the Transformers films do not work.
Right. Well, Michael Bay.
And I saw a lot of arguments was like, oh, you don't need a plot in an action movie. I'm like, yes, you do. You cannot physically get to action in an action movie without a plot to start that action. So that argument is wrong. You need
Otherwise, you
a
get bad
plot for an
entertainment.
action. Otherwise, just watch a wrestling match. I don't know what to tell you.
Yep.
Like,
This should have been, a series of 3 shorts.
yeah,
And
it could have just been 3 fights like uploaded to YouTube, and
Yep.
that would have been better.
Yep. Anyway, let's get into what I think is going to be the shortest part of this segment, which is messages, themes, tone, and so on. Manny, did you take a deep and heartfelt message away from this movie?
There's something that I was reminded of the very important theme that I keep seeing pop up once in a while, that Hollywood only wants your money. They don't care what they put out.
That's maybe not the intentional theme, but boy, is that the theme. Byron.
There's no ethical consumption in capitalism.
I'm not sure what points in this movie make that point, but
Its existence.
okay.
Its existence.
Oh yeah, that's just the fact that it exists. All right, I'll buy that. Chocobo Bot.
Monkey scratch butt. Godzilla big meanie.
We were talking again before we were talking about this. I knew exactly what this movie was going to be. The minute, actually, even before that, when they were doing the credits and they were showing all of the different attacks and so on, and then as they start to pull back, you realize it's set up like literally a March Madness bracket, getting to Godzilla versus Kong, and I'm like, no, they did okay. All right, maybe it's the credits. Who knows? And then Kong wakes up, scratches his ass, and takes a shower under a waterfall. And it's like, okay, I know what this movie is going to be about. This has told me exactly what I can expect in this movie.
While country music played, by the
While
way.
country music played. So I don't think that, again, I haven't seen King of Monsters, but I understand that does a job of portraying the idea of human affected climate change as a problem, and that's sort of an underlying theme about how all of the Titans, well, even in the first movie, how the Titans sort of woke up. It's like, okay, well, we're doing some bad shit to the planet, and the real rulers of the planet aren't too happy about that. None of that in this. Not even close. Nothing whatsoever. It is, ruined ships out in the middle of the ocean, and people are dying, and oil is being spread everywhere, even though they don't show that. It has to happen. Destroy entire cities. Ruining Hong Kong Harbor. Well, they're not going to show that, but it has to happen if that much destruction. There is zero regard for climate or human life or anything in this movie. There is no message whatsoever to this movie other than you're going to, pay money in a theater or, pay your HBO Max subscription to watch big old wrestling match between Monkey and Lizard. And Manny had it. Hollywood will do horrible things to get your money.
Yep.
Tone, I don't know. It was very inconsistent. I think they were going with a lighter tone because they're, as Chocobo Butt said before the show, they were attempting humor. Didn't work, but they were trying to make jokes. And of course, then you're laughing at the stuff where they weren't trying to make jokes because it was so funny and so bad. So I think as tone goes, they were trying to get a less serious tone than King of Monsters. I mean, you've got a big heel turn in King of Monsters with Madison's mom being sort of revealed as the villain.
Yeah, like I like that because, like, granted, I sought to see Godzilla, beat up Ghidorah. That's my personal favorite versus match is those two. But like the whole movie, I thought she was actually not a bad character until she actually reveals that she's like the mastermind. And you're like, what? I was actually kind of shocked at that, so I liked that.
Yeah.
I don't there I was so bored watching this one. There was not one thing I was like, "Oh my god." Like I was actually like loud and almost got kicked out of King of Monsters in the theater when I saw it cuz I was I was excited. I was being too loud in the theater. I was bored watching this one.
I will have to say one of the advantages. I agree with Manny. Your point that the things that were good about this, which was the fights, would have been better in a big theater. But if it was in a big theater, I couldn't have done what I did, which was halfway through just stop.
Yeah, I had to stop for a while too.
And pick it up the next day because if I would have been like, I'm not going to rat out which one of our regular team members isn't on the show because they bailed halfway through, Ashley. But I would have been like Ashley. I would have just, if I tried to power through the whole thing, I would have gone, yeah, no, I'm done. And you couldn't do that in a theater. I might have walked out of this in a theater.
I would have. I definitely would have walked out of this. I had a lot of friends who messaged me after I told them, don't watch it, you're not going to like it. They were like, my family wanted to, so we watched it. And they were like, I got an hour in and turned it off.
Yep.
Like the whole family agreed, let's turn this off. This was bad.
Yep. All right, so that's it, folks. I guess... Luminous, do you think the international market for Hollywood blockbusters is making these movies simplistic? I miss science fiction movies like Blade Runner. Well, I don't think anybody's ever going to compare any, maybe Shin Godzilla, but almost any, any Godzilla or Kong or giant monster movie with Blade Runner. But I don't think so. I don't think that the desire for the international market is what's making these simplistic, because if you look at the ones that are coming out of the international market, they're way more deeper than this is. Again, Shin Godzilla is just this unbelievably overt political statement movie.
It's so beautiful. Like, I actually got emotional watching it. Like, it's. Can I spoil it since we're in a spoiler?
No, this isn't. We're not doing Shin Godzilla spoiler chat, so no.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think that's the case. And if you look at any of the really, the good work being done in international, particularly Asian cinema, even the monster movies coming out of North Korea are way deeper, smarter, and better than this.
Think about like all those new zombie horror movies from
Train to Busan.
Yeah, they all have good plots too, and they're still like beautifully done. Again, you can have a plot in a great movie.
Absolutely.
So I don't think that's the case.
I did want to bring up quickly a better example of like getting the effect of a guy in a suit with CGI. One of my favorite mecha anime, SSS.Gridman. Which is
the recent version?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I'll agree with you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because it's based off of a live action show of the same name, Gridman.
Right. And in this case, it is a person in a suit, but it's also pretty humanistic looking. I mean, it's not. It's more like a superhero giant robot as opposed to, a monkey. But I take your point. You're right. They did a good job with that. All right, so I don't think we need to do this, but let's go around. Recommend or no, Manny?
If I may say, when I was younger, when I was about 5 or 6, my favorite toy was this like 1.5 foot Godzilla toy, and it was awesome. It had like you press a button, and this tongue of fire came out, and if you press the hands would pop out, shoot at you. When back in those days, they didn't really check if that was a good idea. But that was my favorite toy. When my family was forced to move to Puerto Rico, I was allowed to pick one toy to take with me, and that was the toy I took with me. And I remember that one time, I was this kid, so I left it out in the street to play, and my grandmother came back at night and smashed into the toy, destroying it completely. This movie is like 100 grandmothers smashing into your toy. This movie's horrible. Don't go watch it.
I'm gonna cry.
I know, that's like, oh, my heart.
That just gave me more emotion than this film.
Yeah. Yep. Better arc too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just have Wingard hire you for the next one, God
Right?
forbid there's another one. Byron, recommend or no? And try to follow that.
Uh, you know, I remember last year going around this time, going to the theater to see Sonic the Hedgehog and having such low expectations and just prepared for this movie to be a big old stinkeroo like a lot of films in its subgenre. The feeling I got from this movie was the polar opposite.
Now, I think you need to make the point that you were pleasantly surprised by Sonic.
Yes, I was pleasantly
Sonic's
surprised
good.
by how good Sonic the Hedgehog was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is the polar opposite. This is like my dad levels of disappointment. So do not, unless you were like under the influence or just need something or just need something in the background while you're doing something more interesting.
Background noise.
There you go. Chocobo Butt, recommend or not?
So, I mean, I already said I told a lot of people not to see it. I mean, I definitely, like, if you have to see this movie and you have HBO, do not spend money on a movie ticket to go see this. Like, just use your HBO for it. But, I mean, they exceeded my expectations. I went in thinking it was going to be bad, and it just was atrocious. So they exceeded the expectations there.
Kind
In the worst way.
It's kind of rough when they exceed downward.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah, no, don't go see it.
No.
I won't come into a deep story about my past or anything. Just don't go see it. It's awful. It's really awful. All right, folks, that's it. Thank you all for joining us in the chat. Excellent observations, wonderful questions. Thanks for your information, Luminous. I know this is right up your alley. And I'm going to assume that you are pretty disappointed by this as well, although you haven't said, so I think that's pretty smart of you in the chat. But that's it, folks. Next week, oh gosh, I didn't bring up our document. What are we doing next week, folks? Next week, our topic will be. Oh, now Facebook is having a problem again. There we go. The new Netflix animated series Dota: Dragon's Blood.
I saw that.
Yeah.
The trailer looks good, but Blood of Zeus also looked good, and I hated that.
Yeah.
So...
But this is
So
a
Yes and yes.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, I'm iffy now with Netflix
This is a
anime.
movie though, so it won't be as bad.
I thought it was a series. Is it a movie or a series?
I
No,
think
series.
It's a series.
It's a series.
Oh,
It's eight episodes.
Yeah.
okay.
Half an hour long.
too
It's not too long.
Yeah, so it's
That's not too
four
bad.
hours worth of content. Anyway, Dota based on Defense of the Ancients, right? It is actually from the game. So, the guys that ripped off Warcraft and apparently succeeded without being sued. So, yay for them.
They ripped off Warcraft, and then they were ripped off by League of Legends.
Exactly. All right, folks. So that's it. And of course, Tuesday will be our Nerd Week Live. We're already putting stuff up for that show. Looks like there's going to be some interesting things to talk about. Last Tuesday, a couple of days ago, was a very interesting show. And as always, if you would like to, please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/nerdcaliber. We've only got 2 levels of support. Keep it really super inexpensive because we don't really give anything away. We just want you to help us get to cons and do the kind of coverage that you like and the stuff that you're enjoying here. So patreon.com/nerdcaliber. Give us some quick goodbyes. Let's start Manny and work our way around.
Take care. Stay away from this movie.
Exactly. It's like COVID. Byron.
Byron D0. You can find a lot of my artwork on Instagram, which is BDZEROART. And if you want a better example of CGI with Tokusatsu, watch SSS.Gridman.
Which was on Netflix?
Funimation.
Oh, it's Funimation.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I thought it was in Netflix or Amazon. Anyway.
No, it's Ultraman.
Thank you. And Chocobo Butt.
I'm Chocobo Butt. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Don't watch this if you don't have to, or maybe unless you're forced at gunpoint. I don't know what goes on in anyone's life. Don't watch this movie, but have a good rest of your day.
There you go. Thank you all again for joining us. We'll see you either next Tuesday and or next Thursday. Stay safe. Keep washing those hands. Keep wearing that mask. Keep your social distancing. And please
So
do everything you
close.
can to get vaccinated.